For 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has just been there. It's this monument to human ingenuity, a marvel that honestly still baffles engineers today. I mean, think about it. We've walked on the moon, we've built skyscrapers that literally pierce the clouds, but there's this one question that keeps coming up. Could we actually build the Great Pyramid again, right now? Well, the answer is way more complicated, and trust me, a whole lot more expensive than you probably think. The famous archaeologist Zahi Hawass put it perfectly. He said, "These pyramids built Egypt." And he is so right. This thing wasn't just a tomb. It was a national project. It unified a people, it pushed their technology forward, and it basically forged an entire civilization. So yeah, it's way more than just a building. It's the very foundation of a nation's identity. So that brings us right back to our big question. If the ancient Egyptians could pull this off with their tools, surely we could do it with all of our modern technology, right? Well, it turns out the answer is far more complex. And frankly, it's going to cost a lot more money than you could possibly imagine. Okay, so to even begin to answer that, we first need to wrap our heads around the sheer, mind-boggling scale of what we're talking about here. This is not just a big building. It is a man-made mountain. And this is where that scale really starts to hit home. We are talking about a structure as tall as a 40-story skyscraper. It covers an area of about 10 football fields. But the weight is the number that just blows my mind. 6 million tons. That is like stacking 6 million cars on top of each other. And that mountain is made of 2.3 million individual blocks of stone. Now, to give you a sense of size, a lot of these blocks are as large and as heavy as a modern SUV. So just try to imagine that. Quarrying, transporting, and then lifting millions of SUVs to build a skyscraper. That's the challenge we're looking at. So if we were going to take this on today, where would we even start? Well, just like any modern mega project, it all starts from the ground up. And believe me, the price tag starts ticking before we even touch a single stone. The very first and most critical step is the foundation. You can't just drop a 6 million ton structure anywhere you want. The ground has to be perfectly stable bedrock. And the ancients knew this. The famous bent pyramid. It's believed it's bent because its original foundation was unstable, and that forced the builders to change the angle halfway up. It's basically a 4,500-year-old warning sign. All right, so for our modern project, we'd start by buying the land at Giza and getting all the permits, which would cost a cool $120 million. Then we'd use ground-penetrating radar and seismic tests to make sure it's stable. That's another $5 million. But unlike the ancients, we wouldn't just trust the bedrock. Nope, we'd build a massive 4-meter-thick reinforced concrete foundation, adding a staggering $400 million to the bill. Just think about that for a second. We are already over $500 million in the hole. $525 million. And we have not quarried, cut, or placed a single block. This is just the cost of getting the ground ready. So, with our super expensive foundation ready, we now face the colossal task of actually sourcing the materials. And the numbers here, they're almost hard to even comprehend. You want to understand the sheer mass we're dealing with? Let's compare it to the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. It weighs about 500,000 tons. The Great Pyramid? 6 million tons. It is 12 times heavier. We're not building a sleek hollow tower. We're building solid mass. And getting that much mass requires an industrial operation of truly epic proportions. To cut 2.3 million blocks in our target of 5 years, we would need 250 industrial diamond wire saws running nonstop 24/7. The raw limestone and granite itself would cost about $1 billion. Powering all those saws? That's a $155 million electricity bill. And finally, getting it all from quarries as far as Aswan, 900 kilometers away, that's a $200 million logistics nightmare. So when you add all that up, our running total has now skyrocketed past $2 billion. We've spent $500 million on the foundation and another $1.5 billion just getting the stones cut and delivered to the site. And the real work? It hasn't even started yet. Now we get to the heart of the mystery, right? The part that has puzzled historians for centuries. How do you actually assemble this thing? How do you lift millions of tons of stone into the sky with perfect precision? I mean, this question really gets to the core of the engineering challenge. The heaviest blocks are these granite beams that form the roof of the king's chamber. They weigh up to 80 tons each. So how do you hoist something that heavy up 100 meters and place it with the precision of a watchmaker? You have to remember, the ancients placed their blocks so tightly a credit card can't fit between them. While the modern solution would be a complex, custom-built network of the world's largest tower cranes. We'd have to be constantly taking them apart and putting them back together as the pyramid gets higher. Just renting and maintaining that fleet would cost at least $300 million. And of course, you need people. A crew of 3,000 skilled engineers, masons, and laborers, their salaries and insurance over 5 years would add another $400 million. So at this point, our pyramid is built. It's a rough, step-sided mountain of stone, kind of like we see it today. But we're not aiming for how it looks now. We're aiming for how it looked when it was first completed. And that requires one final, dazzling step. You see, the original Great Pyramid was covered in this smooth, polished casing of bright white Terra limestone. It would have just gleamed in the desert sun, like a brilliant beacon you could see from miles away. To replicate that finish, we would need 115,000 perfectly cut and fitted casing stones. And the cost for this final, beautiful touch? Another $250 million. Okay, here we are. We've prepared the land, we've quarried the stone, we've lifted the blocks, and we've polished the exterior. We've accounted for the land, the labor, the materials, the machinery, everything. After all of that, what is the final price tag for recreating this ancient wonder? The grand total comes to a staggering $2.95 billion. And you have to remember, this is a conservative estimate. It doesn't even include things like taxes, road tolls for thousands of trucks, or the cost of building a whole dedicated power plant to supply the electricity. The real cost could easily be much, much higher. So to put that number into context, what else can you build for roughly $3 billion? Well, you could build the SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, one of the most advanced sports arenas on Earth. You could build a massive section of the Palm Jumeirah artificial islands in Dubai. Or you could build an entire national gas processing plant, a piece of absolutely critical infrastructure. And that really brings us to the final and most crucial point. We could theoretically overcome all the financial and engineering hurdles. But the biggest barrier today isn't money or machines, it's purpose. The ancient Egyptians had this powerful religious and cultural motivation that drove them for decades. In our modern world, what purpose would a $3 billion stone mountain serve? So maybe the true lesson of the pyramid isn't about how to build something so grand, but why you would even begin.